Missouri Woods and Water podcast. I'm your host, Nate Thomas, with the second best host of our show.
Yeah.
I'm first.
The first, yeah. I'll take
I'm
it.
obviously first.
I'll take it. I mean, at least the two adults in the room.
The two adults in the room, yeah. Andy is here with me today.
What's going on?
Nothing. Just chilling.
Yeah.
Obviously, Micah just never shows up.
Yeah.
He's unreliable.
I didn't even know he was still with us.
Yeah. Well, he did the show last week, and I think it's officially the worst show that we've ever had. I feel bad.
The worst first 10 seconds we've ever had.
Worst first 10 seconds. I feel bad for our
we apologize.
Our guest, Brian, that he was subjected to Micah and Micah only last week. My apologies, Brian, and I'll never do that to you again, man.
He'll probably never be the same after that.
No, he's scarred for life, and Micah subjected him to 2 hours of just pure
torture.
Pure hell.
Torture.
So unprofessional.
I'm pretty sure it's against the Geneva Convention.
Geneva? I don't even know what that is. I know it's a thing. I just don't know what it is. What's up, man?
Oh, just been out running around, getting stuff kind of wrapped up for planting, and
2 weeks.
It was. I missed one last week, and my wife was out of the state.
It resets every 2 weeks.
That's fine. I make one, miss 2 weeks, make one, miss 2 weeks. I mean, it's
I'll be honest, last week, Mike is like, "Hey, can you guys do Thursday?" And I'm like, "No, I don't think I can do any night this week." I did not realize how I would get busier when summer hit.
All the camps and all the different...
June for school sports is turning into the most crazy thing you can ever imagine. Every single sport at a school, at least at our school, they do stuff during June. Mm-hmm. And so, my daughter plays 2 sports. My son is a freshman in high school. He plays 2 sports, or is going to. And then you got Chase doing stuff every single day in June. And then weights and all that stuff. It's almost busier than it is during the school year. So I hadn't taken Chase to wrestling in a while because of all this other stuff. So I'm like, nah, I'm taking him to wrestling Thursday night. And so
my wife went on a little vacation, so she was gone. So I had the kids by myself, so it wasn't overly feasible.
I think Kendall could do okay if you're like, hey, leave us alone.
Oh, I don't know, man.
But I think Camden might be over in our business.
They're both of them pretty needy children.
My kids, for the most part, I can tell them to shut up and stay upstairs.
They're older.
They might fight a little bit, and I might hear, I'm going to kill you up there. But other than that, it's fine. They do all right.
We can take all the knives.
Yeah. But anyways, today's show is a really good one because, this is actually enjoy. You enjoy these type of shows where it's basically learning the whole time. And I learned pretty much everything about it. I thought I knew stuff about aging deer, and I knew nothing.
I thought I halfway had an idea what they did.
I thought you pulled a back tooth. I thought you pulled molars. None of that's correct.
Nope.
So if you are interested in aging deer, or it's something that you're thinking about doing, I would take every preconceived notion you had about it and probably throw it away, because if you're like me, none of it was correct.
At least in this method.
At least in this method that deerage.com uses. So we have Heather Stevens on, who is owner of deerage.com, and she talks about how she got into this sort of stuff, how they age deer.
What it entails of, as far as from start to finish, what we do as hunters to what they do as scientists.
The oldest deer they've ever aged, which surprised the shit out of me.
Yeah. You have to listen to find out. We're not going to run that one.
Yeah. I'm telling you now, it ain't 12.
Right.
How about that? It ain't 12.
That's fair.
12 is old.
12 is old.
It's not the oldest one they've aged. And it was a wild deer. The one they aged.
Yeah, it was. They said it was wild.
It was a city deer. Yeah. But it was still not, like a pinned up deer.
Yep.
So let's do our sponsors real quick. Let's start with Habitat Works. Our buddy Dustin Williams, 816-752-7390 evens. Mention us when you call, get 15% off any of his services. It's middle of summer right now. Mapping and planning would be really ideal at the moment if you're lucky enough to find a new hunting property maybe in the middle of the summer or whatever. But
which you can also use him to help find a new hunting property.
Also help, on all Jason Patterson's whitetail properties. Yep. And give Dustin a call or shoot him an email at habitatworksllc@gmail.com. Reveal cameras by Tacticam. Have you played with your new Ultra?
I have not yet. I've not. They're in the box. Micah, sitting by mine's
right over there. So if you don't know this, Micah spoke about it on the show that was released last week. Reveal by Tacticam came out with the new Ultra camera, and it's got a lot of different features. One of those features being the ability to live stream for up to 4 minutes, I think it is, and then it has to break.
Yeah.
And then you can do it again.
Which I think is going to be pretty cool because I use one of mine for it's still like a
security camera,
but it's a quasi security camera on one of my properties because it's kind of secluded. I have a shed back there with some stuff in it.
Yep.
And so I keep one on the drive back, which I still get a lot of deer. I've actually got some pretty good buck pictures off that camera. But it's also, I catch people coming in there about once a month. I find somebody pulling them on the farm. Yeah.
Dear Lord. Is it like back there too?
Can't tell you.
Is it like in the front of the drive or towards the back?
It's somewhere in there.
I can just find it.
You could. You can try.
Like, they're obviously going back there.
It's not real far back there, but you have to pull all the way in.
You have to have, wanted to go into the drive.
It's not like you're just turning around in the driveway. You've pulled in.
Jiminy Christmas, man. That's crazy. Morel Targets actually just got their new transformer buck. Did you see that when you came and got your other stuff?
I did not.
I had the buck leaning up.
Yeah, I did see it.
Dude, it is sweet. So you can take the core out just like you would like the big high roller. And it's got like a little handle just like you would the big high roller, and you can just throw it out and shoot it, or have the 3D target itself.
Yeah,
in the
whole frame.
Yeah,
versatile.
I'm excited about that one.
Where are we at?
Huntworth Gear. I'm going up backwards.
Sorry.
Huntworth Gear. Use our code MWW15 for 15% off. I did make a statement a couple weeks ago that I finally planted my stake in the ground. Vertex, my new favorite pattern.
I'm not going to argue. I don't know.
I didn't think I would ever put Disruption below it, but honestly, I think
how everybody's so different because I'm Tarnin, and then Vertex, and then Disruption.
Yeah, and see me, I think like Disruption's even going under Tarnin, and I think it's because this is going to sound weird, but we talk so much shit on Sitka.
No, and
it's a digital pattern.
Yeah.
So like it's like negative vibes in my head, and so like that. And when that Vertex came out, I'm just like, that's what I like. Yeah. So
I feel like digital,
the point is they've got so many 3 really great patterns
for sure
that you can pretty much,
and not just the pattern, the actual like clothing is good quality. I feel like I don't have like the.
I haven't replaced. I mean, the only thing I've replaced is I ripped a pair of pants on a fence.
Right.
I would have ripped any pair of pants on that fence.
On a fence, and that's what I'm saying. I don't have like. I'm tall, so I have like a lot of times I have crotches ripped out of stuff, or I have because I take big steps or whatever.
Because of the other reason.
And it's here or there. Okay, Micah.
You're the one with it. I might have been talking about other things. I don't know.
Anyway, but it seems like quality products as well.
Yeah.
So for the right prices.
100%. Speaking of other quality products, Black Ovis, online retailer, blackovis.com. Use our code MWW10 for 10% off. All kinds of brands that they basically like.
They vet. They don't just. It's not
if they don't
anybody sell there.
Right.
It's things they truly believe in, companies they believe in that they bring on to sell through their store.
And then Black Ovis has their own gear of kind of more like lifestyle. I mean, it's hunting clothing as well. But it's all solid patterns. They don't have like
the merino layers.
What am I trying to say? It's not a camo.
Yeah, it's more of a lifestyle.
But they've got a freaking hoodie brand that I wear all the time now. It's that lightweight. It's the I think it's the Cottonwood Creek hoodie.
Yeah.
No, it's the Realm. It's the Realm, and it is lightweight, long sleeve. It's got a hood that's real lightweight. I wear that thing too much. I probably want people wonder if I have anything else.
That kind of smell.
I have a couple of them. But check out Black Ovis and then their sister company, Camofire.
Rotating door of deals.
Yep. Make sure you poop and purchase in the morning. That's my trademark. Which Brian Hurt does that.
I mean, more people than will admit do that.
I mean, it's a great time to spend money.
It is.
Wake up, start in the hole right off the bat before you ever go to work.
More ways than one.
More ways. On X, use our code MWW20 for 20% off. Got to go to the website. Easy to do, but if you want to save that basically $20 on the Elite package, it would be easy to do.
Not just a hunting app. I say that every time I think.
Use it for all kinds of stuff.
I'll be honest with you, I'm planning on using it. So with my seed business, we put up signs, know, kind of displaying, what that field is.
Jack Daniels.
Yeah, don't worry about that. It's a super easy way that I can actually mark where my signs are. So at the end of the season, I can go back and make sure I get them all picked up. But I can just drop pins every time I stop.
Do you make them green? Are your pins green?
Yeah.
That would make more sense.
I mean, yeah, but it would be.
Or you make them black for...
I'll probably make them green.
Or your seed that died.
I wouldn't have any black pins.
Hopefully not.
I'll probably put those. I mean, I'll put those in a folder, and then I can just pull up that folder. I can hide the folder. That's a good idea. Yeah. And then pull it out and use it whenever I'm doing that my job function.
On X, if you sell seed, you want it. And then Athlon Optics. I haven't used my stuff for a while, but actually I used my thermal a couple weeks ago to try to find my neighbor's turkey.
Oh,
my scanner. Yeah, their turkey was missing, and I was like, oh, and he's been at our house that for some reason he's got a broken foot, and so he was at our house, and she's like, was he over there today? I said, yeah. I said, he actually ended up walking south. I said, I'll go outside with my scanner. She's like, you don't have to. I'm like, no problem. So I went out there, looked for him, never found him. Next morning, the boys found him in the path down to our pond. The coyotes got him.
Oh no!
All was left was his two legs, and you could tell it was him because one leg's all broke up and swollen. And so I sent her another message, her and her husband. I'm like, we found him. He gone.
Yeah.
I think he was just being too lazy because his foot was broke. Mm-hmm. That he didn't want to like walk back to their house, and he would just sit in our grass field all night.
Is it embarrassing?
What?
Being a coyote hunter and have a coyote kill something right behind your house?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I'll be honest with you, but it's the life I live.
I've been there.
I'm embarrassed 24/7.
I've been there myself.
And then last but not least, HuxWorks flow-through suppressor technology. I just bought a tax stamp today, right before you got here. There you go. To hopefully go pick one up, hopefully in the next couple days.
Yeah.
I don't know how fast they're going at this point. All that stuff, but
it depends if Doge shit them or not.
I still don't understand all that shit. Like, so HuxWorks sent the suppressor into our dealer, and then I had to go to silencershop.com and buy a tax stamp and a single shot trust. How do they get married? How do those things know that they're, you know what I'm saying? I do not understand this process, and this is my fourth suppressor. I just don't get it. So hopefully, luckily our dealer is really nice and they'll take care of me. But anyway, check HuxWorks out. We're gonna have a show with them hopefully sometime this summer about flow through technology and just
how they work,
how it works, and how it's different than baffle style suppressors and all that stuff. So
hopefully things get passed in the good old government. You don't even have to have that tax stamp soon.
That would be smart, but that makes too much sense.
Yeah.
And thanks to all our sponsors. Thanks to all of our listeners out there. Make sure you go to our YouTube channel, give it a follow and a subscribe. And what's the other thing? Hit the little bell.
The like button?
Yeah. No, the alert that says, hey, there's a new show, which comes out every Tuesday at 4 a.m. if you're curious. But, check them out. And we appreciate everybody. And Micah, screw you for not showing up once again. You're unreliable.
And inappropriate.
And churish. Insubordinate.
Insubordinate.
And churish. What? Get your ass up to Principal O'Shaughnessy's.
Principal O'Shaughnessy?
Oh, gosh. Say your name correctly.
Denise.
Say it right. Correctly. D-Nice. Thank you. What's the one? She's like, I'm president of the chess club. You are not.
No, you ain't.
That's hurtful, but true. Oh, man. Anyway, I don't know how. All right. Thanks for listening. This is the Missouri Woods and Water Podcast. For the third time, let's try this a third time. We've got Heather Stevens with DeerAge.com. Heather, what's going on?
Hi, it's good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Appreciate the time.
We had some technical difficulties, and I was just explaining to Heather I'm getting big boy internet next week. So hopefully this is the last time we have that issue.
It'd be nice.
Yeah.
It'd be nice. Yeah. They're working on that in my neighborhood too.
Yeah. They came to my house one night. I was sitting. That was the most excited I've been to answer the front door of my house in a long time because I knew what it was. It was like a kid in a candy store.
Wow.
Exactly.
But
joys of living in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, joys of living in the middle of nowhere. So we've got Heather on. Heather is with deerage.com. If people don't know what that is, it's how you can age your deer. But there's a whole backstory to how Heather got into this and what you do with aging deer, which, truth be told, I don't think we've done yet. Have you done it?
I've never done it.
I keep saying I'm going to,
We've always
and then
talked about it.
I don't do it because I get
You're missing out.
Yeah.
You're missing out. It's super fun.
I guarantee you we'll be doing it after this.
Yeah. I mean, we always literally always talk
every
about
single
it.
time. Yep.
I honestly, don't do it because I don't understand the process. So this is going to help me, honestly,
for sure.
Perfect.
I remember the second deer I killed this year. We thought he was older, and I'm like, I got to send him off. And then for whatever reason, I got home to gut him, and he was super infected, and it was horrible. It was the worst gutting I've ever done in my life. And
man,
it kind of was like, I just want to get this deer out of my hair, out of here.
Get him out of here.
And 3 days later, I'm like, dang it, why didn't I do that?
Forgot the teeth.
Yeah, I do still have teeth. I don't know which. We'll figure out which tooth it is in a second. We're getting ahead of ourselves.
We're gonna get into it. Yeah, we're gonna get into it.
But before we do, Heather, introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, where you're from, and then let's get into your background about like how this came to where you're at now with deerage.com.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Heather Stevens. I am originally from Spokane, Washington, and I now live in Missoula, Montana, which I am very happy to be here. I went to school for microbiology because I was going to save the world from Ebola or something like that. And then I ended up getting a job after my bachelor's degree at the Washington Animal Disease Diagnostic Laboratory doing histology, which is the study of tissue. So we take in diagnostic tissues and put them on slides. So that's kind of how I got started in this field. And in 2011, I actually broke off and started my own lab with a research focus. So we take in tissues from researchers all across the country. So when Harvard, Yale, when they're doing research studies with mice and things like that, they'll send us their tissues and then we analyze them so that's how I got into this. So my primary company is called Nationwide Histology, and it's all veterinary diagnostic based.
Okay.
And then in 2013, that's when DeerAge was founded in 2004 by a couple called Henry and Mary Chidgey. And they were looking for a lab to partner with because as they were growing, they kind of had some consultations and things like that, and they were just struggling to keep up with the laboratory aspect, so they were looking for a lab that could kind of handle the tissues. So we partnered with them and started taking in all the teeth. We rewrote their protocols and started getting them a little bit nicer slides and things like that, so it makes reading them easier. And then in 2018, they wanted to retire and asked if I would buy them out. And truth be told, I had never even really known anyone who hunted. I was an indoor girl, from the city, going to the symphony and things like that. And I met my husband, who's a bow-toting Missoula boy. And he was like, yeah, let's buy it. This is so cool. And so I was like, all right, cool. We're doing all the teeth anyways. Let's buy it. And it kind of took over my whole life. Basically, it was my favorite line of business that we had anyways, just because I found it so interesting. And so, Chad helped me. He does a lot of our social media. And then little by little, we've just grown and changed, and we've changed the process and just met all these really great people and had all these partnerships, and it's just kind of evolved into the bulk of my life. But I really like it. So that's kind of the history of how I got into it. So I still do have Nationwide Histology. We still do process veterinary diagnostic tissue, and then in addition, we take the DeerAge tissue as well.
That's just pretty neat. Crossed, your husband's world and your world, and found that's rare to find that common ground and common interest. And
it's really funny story. so he was a taxidermist for 20 years.
There you
And
go.
when I was single and dating and cutting up animals, it wasn't like the most popular thing as a single gal. And so when I met
Just a few
Chad
red flags.
and
Yeah.
he yeah, exactly. I'm like, cut up animals. Guys are like, yeah, it was nice meeting you.
You heard of the crazy
But
cat
then
lady? She was the exact
yeah,
opposite.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. And then so Chad, like I had to go pick up this Border Patrol canine and he like hauled it out of the fridge and was totally like down with it while we were hacking it up. And he's like, "Oh, I lost my sense of smell from taxidermy a long time ago." So it never bothered him. And I was like, "Oh, he's a keeper."
That's funny. I
Yeah,
wish
it was great. So
We both love dead things.
yeah.
yeah,
I need
it's so
to
great.
I need to put like a little alarm on in the middle of our table and hit the alarm when I'm about to go down a rabbit hole.
Oh boy.
But
Do it.
I'm gonna hit the alarm and rabbit hole alert. So your nationwide histology, you were talking about veterinarian type stuff. I'm curious, have
Yeah.
you ever ran across or worked in the canine dysautonomia field or know what I'm talking
I
about?
ha I haven't. So
So
tell me more.
I'm trying to think of, and I'll be very brief with it, but I'm trying to think where we sent it. So we had a puppy. She was, I mean, this has been probably 10 years ago, that got sick when she was 6 months old, and 2 days later, we had to put her down. And she got this thing called canine dysautonomia, which is basically they lose all ability to do any of their automatic nervous system functions. So like their bowels,
Wow.
their throat. Anyway,
That's
long story
crazy.
short, apparently it's only happening to dogs in western Missouri, eastern Kansas, and parts of maybe Wyoming. I can't remember which northern state. I think it is Wyoming. And so anyway,
Wow.
they think dogs are getting it through like the soil or water. And so when she died, we actually had her
Wow.
body sent off, and we
Yeah.
sent because she went swimming in our pond like 3 days before she got sick. So we sent samples of our
Mm,
pond water,
samples.
and I think the University of Wyoming was doing a big study about it. And of
Yeah, cool.
course,
I'll have to look into that because that's super interesting. That's something that would definitely be up our alley. And if
yeah,
there is a place that's doing that, usually we'll try to find them and maybe reach out and see if we can save them a little bit of money on their histology or work with our pathologists and get their
Yeah.
research moving. Because a lot of places that do what we do are actually really slow.
yeah.
They can be really backed up. So one of our advantages is we're really fast.
Nice.
I feel like it was the University of Wyoming, but it's like I said, it's been 10
Oh,
years, and I don't know where
well, I'm
the
about to
diseases
find out
went.
because I just wrote all that down.
Yeah, it's called dysautonomia. Um,
Thank you.
yeah, like it was crazy. Like
Was it a shepherd?
she was a German Shepherd. Yeah.
Hmm.
When she would try to like when I went to see her in the vet, so I dropped her off at the vet. I was out of town. My wife calls me. She goes, "Elka is sick. There's something going on." I'm like, "Well, just put her in her kennel. I'll be home later tonight." And I get home and she looks at me and tries barking and it was just like rah, like nothing came out, and I'm like, "Oh no." So the next morning I'm at the vet's office, take her in there, and he's like, "Hey, I'll call you later on." I'm like, "Okay." He catches me in the truck on my way out of the parking lot, and he goes, "Hey, take this information. I think she has dysautonomia and she's going to die. And if she lives, it's going to be a
Damn.
horrible life, just so you know. But I'll do some tests, blah blah blah, and I'll figure it out." Well, apparently he was an older vet, and so he's only one of the few ones that have seen that disease before. A lot of vets don't even know for sure what it is because it kind of looks like almost parvo, like it,
Wow.
all kinds of stuff. And
That's
luck,
really crazy. I'm actually super interested in that. I'm gonna look into it when we get off of here because that's really unique. And it's interesting that you made the pond connection
hmm
because my brain right away went to that brain-eating amoeba that can be in warm water ponds, like usually down in the south. So
right.
maybe there's like a dog version of
Yeah, I
it.
don't know if they know for sure where it's coming from, but it's odd that it's like it's at the time 10 years ago. You might find some new information, but that
Yeah.
it was concentrated to like western Missouri, eastern Kansas, and then like Wyoming, a pocket of Wyoming. That was the
Maybe
only
there's like
places they were
Crazy.
seeing
the
that.
right climate for that
Yeah,
bacteria
I
or
don't know.
something.
Yeah.
Um, but it's
Huh.
like 98% fatal, and the ones that live have lifelong complications, that sort of stuff. And
Wow.
so we put her down that next morning, if I remember. But yeah, she was only, and I guess younger dogs are more susceptible to it. So
Weird.
Yeah, it was interesting. But anyway, moving back to deer. So
Well,
out of the
now
rabbit
I
hole-
learned something. I came here to teach you something, and you taught me something. That's wonderful.
Yeah. So did you ever think when you were in college that this would be like? Did you have an idea of what you wanted to do with your degree at the time, or you just really liked science?
Other than, yeah, I just was really good at science. I actually was starting out doing dental hygiene, and I took microbiology, and my microbiology teacher was like, "You're going to be a microbiologist." And I was like, "No, I'm going to be a dental hygienist." And then I came back to school the following year and I was like, yeah, I'm going to be a microbiologist because I just had a knack for it. I guess, I don't know, just the way my brain works. I kind of had a knack for science. So I got into it, and I just always thought it was really cool, like CSI and things like that. And now this year we started working with a crime lab, and we get to take in autopsy tissue, and I got to participate in autopsy. And so, yeah, I mean, some of the things that I really enjoy, I get to,
It's like true
live
crime
out in my
girls on
career.
steroids.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Now I don't get to just listen to murder, I get to participate.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. So, aging deer has been something that is always on our minds. I mean, how often when we talk about a buck or doe, we are always talking about, hey, I think he's 4.5. I think he's 6.5. We had this old buck that I ended up never killing that actually was Andy's house.
He was 52, I think.
That he might have been, he might have qualified for Social Security.
Oh, yeah, he's pretty sure.
That's hilarious.
Now that buck we never ended up killing, so
he
we
disappeared.
couldn't
Dang.
send him in anyway. But
Dang it.
yeah,
It wasn't even legal for us. He could have shot him.
I
but
could have,
He
yeah.
would because we have a point restriction here. He wasn't legal for him to shoot.
Oh,
yeah,
But it was probably one of the oldest deer that I've ever seen alive.
yeah.
Oh,
Just by
wow.
visual, I mean, assuming just by visually looking at him. But
yeah.
um,
Yeah,
We knew he was at
decrepit,
least-
and he was using a walker, so that kind of tipped you off.
I mean,
yeah,
dang near, yeah. And his rack had gotten poor by the time, you know what I'm saying? By
Yeah.
the time I had an encounter with him, his rack was just basically 2 beams and some G1s.
Yeah.
probably couldn't have been able to age him.
Wow.
He might not have teeth.
His
No,
dentures wouldn't have came
His
back.
dentures.
No, you can definitely age him unless the roots are gone. So
Wow.
once all the teeth wear down to the gums, like most people think, oh no, we can't age it. Well, we don't look at the tops at all. In fact, we discard the tops of the teeth. So we just we dig the root out of the bone, and that's what we're looking at.
Interesting. So that's my biggest question is, obviously, well, let's just talk about
Start the
how,
process,
let's
yeah.
start the process. How do
We
you
kill a deer.
You kill a deer.
What
What
do
does
we do?
someone do, and how do you determine that deer's age?
Sure. We'll just kind of go through the whole thing. So when you kill a deer, you want to cut out the lower front 2 teeth,
Oh, it's
and the root is, and the root is the most important part. That's what we're actually aging.
I
So
100% thought it was a molar.
me too.
yeah, I know, and we can age molars, but it's really best as a last resort if you didn't keep the
Really?
front teeth. The front teeth just age a lot better. The lines will space out more, and so it's easier to interpret the slide.
Okay.
So you want to cut out those front 2 teeth, and they come out best when the harvest is more fresh. Because after it sits for a bit, like those gums will kind of dry up a little bit, and then the teeth, you can break them, getting them out. But if you cut down between the teeth and on either sides and just cut as far down as your knife will go and then push them towards the outside of the mouth, they pop out pretty easy, and then just dry them out. If you take the teeth out,
So we
Just
don't
dry
want to
them out
take
at-
pliers and yank them. We're cutting.
I mean, you can yank
Okay.
on them a little bit, but you just run the risk of breaking them. It's best to cut, and then
Okay.
push.
Gotcha.
Yeah, like my husband, he's so spoiled. He just drops teeth off on my desk, and they just stay here and dry out. And he's like, handle it, slave. So yeah, you just let them dry out. Don't put them in any plastic because they'll start to stink and get funky.
Okay.
Also, we do allow customers to send the entire front row of teeth. Like if you cut that
wow.
off, You know how the jaw kind of narrows a
Hmm.
ways back from the bottom teeth? If you cut that off there and send that in, we'll actually extract them for you. It's an extra $5, but then, if you're
You know
struggling to
it's
get
not
them
messed
out
up.
or
Yeah.
when you
Right.
break one, like just send it. So yeah, that's the start of the whole process is getting the teeth out. And then you go online and order a kit. So the way our kits are sold is by how fast you want your turnaround time. If you're a super patient dude and you're good with waiting 90 days, we've got a kit for you. And if you're really, really impatient, we've got a 1 week turnaround time. So
I
they're
think I'd be
sold
fine at
based on,
90.
Okay.
I mean, I
yeah,
wait a
it
year
just,
for my
okay,
mounts.
okay. And there's
You
some
would not.
added benefits with the 1 week kit. So if you order the 1 week kit, the shipping is included, and then you can send in either the front or the side at no charge. And then we offer priority posting on social media. So there's a few extra benefits with going with the 1 week kit as well. And you also get discounts off of our aging certificates, which I just happen to have some right here. So we frame these certificates and send them out to
That'd be
you, and
pretty
you
cool.
get a discount.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, they're real small so that you can hang it by your mount.
yeah.
Right.
Because
That's
we
Yeah,
always
so
talk about like, you know, we focus on the racks, but at some point, not every deer is going to be a 200-inch deer. I mean, 140 might be how big it gets at 7, 8 years old. So
Right.
it's one of those things like a trophy. If you talk to
well, it's
most
all
hunters,
about
they'll tell
learning
you
your
it's a
area
mature
too.
deer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So you kind of start learning your area and like you said, that old deer, like you're watching them and you're seeing when they're declining and things like that. So as you're aging them regularly, you kind of start to learn like when that sweet spot is for the area
Right.
that you're hunting.
Yeah. Well, and one of our
Yeah,
friends of our show, and I'm sure you actually know him, Lindsey Thomas Jr. with the National Deer Association. He got
I
back
know
one of
him
his.
well. He's
Yeah,
visited.
he's awesome. No relation. We don't have any relation, but
Thank
we
God.
do joke about being cousins. Um, he got his doe back last year, I think, and she was like 10 and a half. And he said that's the oldest deer that he's ever
Right.
killed. And he saves is it the jawbone of all his does? I can't remember what he
I
said,
think the whole jaw.
or the
He
whole jaw,
probably
and
does.
he keeps them like you would racks.
Hmm.
And I thought that's kind of cool because that's a way to
Scare away visitors.
scare away visitors and have a trophy for like a doe. Very rarely do you see a mounted doe. I mean, obviously they do
Some here and
happen,
there, yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's a way to kind of immortalize that doe as well, kind of like we do with the buck mounts, and
Yeah.
then he gets them all aged, and that helps
Yeah.
him more than just him knowing if he killed a mature
herd.
doe. It's his herd health and how he can
Yeah.
determine what he's got going on there.
Yeah, a lot of people are starting to get into aging does a little bit more. They do tend to get a little bit older because people aren't like chasing them down as much as bucks.
Right.
So it can kind of give you a good idea of, how old they get in your area too.
Yeah, cool. So okay, they send it in to you.
Right.
They have the
Yes, you
option.
order your kit, send it in, and then we check it in, and then it goes through a rigorous scientific process. So we actually remove all the calcium from the bone, and then it goes through a bunch of different chemicals and is embedded and cut in wax, and then mounted on a slide and stained with our proprietary stain. And then we scan them digitally and read them. And so all we're doing is counting the lines to see how many winters essentially the deer has gone through. So it's been previously postulated that the harshness of winter is what forms the line, but I 100% disagree with that. It's all periods of stress. And so the stress of the rut, in my opinion, is what causes that line to form. Because I've seen other lines form due to extreme stress. And when like animals are injured, it can really impact the lines, and that's also another stressor. So those are the just like kind of nuances with aging the deer.
Yeah, and like, what if you have a really chill deer? He
Just don't,
he
doesn't
never
have
gets
that
stressed out.
anxiety. Take some
I
Xanax.
He probably just has really thin lines, so they still all get lines, so it's probably hormonal.
Yeah,
But
okay, yeah.
yeah, he just probably would have thinner lines, maybe not quite as robust.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like hairlines.
Oh, well, I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
I'm taking my hat off. So what's interesting to me is, and I'm assuming there's other companies out there that age deer, and I don't know if they do it the same way you guys do it or similarly, but how in the heck did somebody figure that out?
Yeah,
like,
so
hey, this is how we're going to age a deer. You know, how did do you even know
I
the
will
story
say
behind that?
that is, I don't know the whole story, but I do know it's been around since the 70s, and it was just part of a research project. So there was a researcher that was interested in wildlife research. He was a wildlife biologist, and I don't know, other than possibly he was aware of other types of aging, like the otoliths in fish or things like that. Maybe that had
Mm,
inspired him to. I don't know why he chose to go down this route with teeth, but yeah, they worked on it in the 70s and slowly started, doing many, many, many research papers on it.
right.
And it was pretty quickly proven to be the best way to age deer. So a lot of different uh, state agencies and things like that started sending in their teeth to be aged in that way. And then it wasn't really commercially available until the Chidgeys in 2004 actually, wanted to be able to bring this just to the regular hunter that just wants to
Yeah.
know, or hey, let's say you have a small farm and you're like, hey, I want to know what my population's doing,
Right.
so they wanted to do a commercial operation to just bring it to hunters that can just send in one tooth at a time. And they just worked on growing their business. And then when they found us, I did a lot of research, and then because I'm actually a tissue expert and not a wildlife biologist, I was able to really perfect the actual process itself. So,
Okay.
yeah, previously it was all wildlife biologists that were practicing histology. And so, you know, because his tissue in particular is my specialty, I can tell you like, oh, this bone needs this type of decalcification, right? It needs this endpoint. It needs this kind of processing, right? So
Hmm.
we really took it and kind of just perfected it to where the teeth come out very, very consistent every single time, very dark stain, and so that's part of the inaccuracy when it's not accurate, right? If you have a bad slide with really crappy lines, it's going to be harder to read it.
Right.
So our job at first was to just make really, really, really nice slides, and we definitely have that down.
Nice.
Nice. So I'm gonna butcher this. Cementum annuli.
You did it exactly right. There was no butchery.
Nice.
Cementum
Okay.
annuli.
I
Toot toot.
every time I do it, I'm like, I don't know if I'm saying this right. But so you kind of talked about the process, which
Yeah.
is about 100% more than I knew. First off, I didn't even realize it was the front teeth.
Yeah.
Second off, I didn't realize how they did it. I just assumed they looked at the wear on the actual tooth, not
Right.
had,
Cleaned
it
them up,
really has
looked at
nothing to
the-
do with that. Um,
It's
and
actually a
then
really involved process.
yeah, it just to the average hunter that's never done it, I think there's they have an idea in their head of how it's done, and that's basically I just formed an idea. I'm like, well, they must look at how they wear.
I mean, I'll be honest.
know?
Whenever she said it goes through a rigorous, scientific process, I thought she was being
I
sarcastic.
thought she was joking.
I thought
Yeah.
she was joking.
No.
And when she started explaining, I was
No,
like,
it
"Oh
really
shit, she
does.
is serious. Like it really is."
I even wrote it in my diary.
I wrote in my
Heather
diary,
had a hilarious
there's
joke today. I thought you were joking.
There's actually more steps involved with what we do than doing DNA analysis.
I really hope she knows who Ron Burgundy is, and she is
I do.
picking up what we're doing right now.
I was like, if she doesn't understand movie quotes, you sound
Veronica
like
had a hilarious joke today. I
love
even wrote it in
movies.
my diary.
I didn't wrote in my diary.
Uh,
You guys are a hoot. Yeah,
That's
no,
good.
I was not
like movie
joking. It
quotes.
actually was serious.
Yeah. Well, and then, like you said,
it's a
started
lot.
saying those things, and
Yeah.
then it just makes, it's crazy to me. So, how accurate is cementum annuli aging? And you do it with whitetails, elk, all the different cervid
Yep.
species, I'm assuming. But how
And
accurate
carnivores
can it
as
be?
well.
Okay. Ooh, carnivores.
Bears. Type
Can I see your teeth
carnivores.
in?
No, we're going to hit a pause.
I'm a
We're gonna hit
carnivore.
a pause. What about how do you do coyotes?
That would be cool.
The same way.
The
But
front teeth?
with the
You have a
upper
canine?
premolar behind the canine.
So the one back towards the mouth behind the canine? Or back
Yeah,
towards
there's
the
like a
throat?
little tiny tooth
Okay.
behind the canine. It's a
Right here.
premolar. That's the best one for carnivores.
See, we've done that with carnivores before. Like we were big coyote hunters as well, and so
All right.
we've killed coyotes before, and we're just like, man, this thing is old.
Besides just general weight, you have no idea. I mean,
Yeah.
you can ballpark, oh, he looks old, but it could be stressors like you're talking about, like that make it look like that. It doesn't necessarily dictate.
Yeah, or it could have mange and just look worse than
Yeah.
it really is.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
you
It
know,
could just be, yeah.
yeah,
A
and
coyote.
that happens a lot
But
in our
yeah,
area.
send them in. Send them in. I've even aged a raccoon.
Nice.
He was 9.
You got some big coons at your house, I will
There's
say.
They've been there longer than I have.
But
It's their house.
so how accurate is is it more accurate for some animals than others, or
Yeah.
like what's it like?
It is. Yeah, it is. It is. There's a lot of different things that impact the accuracy. So, if I'm going to be scientifically correct, the appropriate accuracy is what the literature supports. So, in the last published data, which was done a very long time ago, it's 83% accurate, I think, for whitetails and like 98% accurate for elk and mule deer.
Okay.
So I think I understand why the accuracy is even lower than what I think it really is, because a lot of factors come into play with that study that was done. So no one's done another accuracy study, so that's all we have, right?
How
We just
accurate-
know it's the most accurate.
How accurate do you feel it is?
I
Outside of
think
like,
it's probably 95. I
Yeah.
think it's probably 95 accurate, depending on the age class, right? So
sure.
deer that are less than 2.5 years old shouldn't be aged this way. It's not very accurate and it's difficult to age them this way. Which did you say you can't send yours in?
Yes.
So
This guy's
it's
got
best
jokes
to
for
actually,
days.
yeah, clearly.
We're super nice to each other.
So you shouldn't send them in. You can really easily age deer that are younger than 2.5 with the replacement
Backstraps.
method. So that's what should be used. And I think that that impacted the accuracy of the study. Also, quality of the slides likely impacted the
Which
accuracy
makes sense.
of that study.
If your slides are better than another lab, you'd be more accurate than that lab.
That's right, because they're easier to read. So I think there's a lot of factors. And then also, when we put pictures out there to show the lines of the tooth, we're not going to put out there the crappiest lines we've got, right? I mean, we're
Sure.
putting out like our best face forward, right? Not every deer is like that. If you have a deer that's had some injuries, the lines can be really wavy and really blurry. And now the reader's having to really work hard to interpret that. So those are some of the things that can impact the accuracy. So, and then like deer from the south sometimes can have a little intermediate line, and it's a very thin line in between the annuli that, it takes experience to make sure you're not counting that. So there's a lot of little nuances with it, which come down to quality and experience. And so one of the ways that we are more accurate is we actually listen to our hunters' feedback, right? So every single person that submits to us can request a second look if they think that the age is off from what they were thinking. And we ask them, why they think that. And a lot of times they're just wrong. But, if you've been following a deer for a long time, and let's say it's, a piebald deer, right? That it's the same deer, right? And you're like, I know this thing is really old, and it comes back at say 3.5, then we have to go back to the drawing board and maybe rerun the test and look at it closer, right? So some of the things that can impact the accuracy is really old deer can decalcify quicker. And if they decalcify really quickly, the lines might not stain as dark. So there's all these little nuances that we kind of have to fine tune. And because we're running so many teeth through the lab, there's no such thing as basically a quality assurance, right? Essentially, like we're giving you an age, and you as the customer are the quality assurance. You need to tell us, no, I think that's wrong, right?
Right.
And then we take another look and determine, okay, like obviously you just don't know how to age deer, or Or, okay, maybe this deer was really old. We need to decalcify it on a slower cycle. Or this deer might have been young. Maybe these are intermediate lines that the reader made a mistake and counted. So that's how we elevate our accuracy, is by really listening to the feedback from the hunter, because we're looking at lines on a slide. You guys are looking at the deer in the field, and we kind of marry those two things together to make it the most accurate aging out there.
Yeah. And when you guys are doing that, I'm guessing too, like, let's say you get to a deer and you're like, okay, we're already at 7.5. We know this deer is at least 7.5. I'm assuming, without asking, the person reading that test is going to become more aware of things like you were saying, decalcification, because we know that deer is already 8, and so,
Yeah.
okay, we have some light lines here or whatever, then, okay, this could indicate now it's 9. This could mean
So
10.
typically what'll happen in that instance is, like, you'll only see like 5 lines, for example, but it's like a little bit fainter of a stain. And
Yeah.
so, you're like, well, I see 5 lines. Like, overall, the tooth looks pretty good. Like, it doesn't look like anything's wrong. Doesn't look like the test needs repeated. So you age it at 5. And then the customer freaks out and is like, I know it's at least 10 or something like that. So then it's like, oh, okay. I see 5 lines, but the slide's a little faint. Let's, decalcify it on a shorter cycle, run it on a darker stain, and see what comes out of the second tooth, right? So having a second tooth is really, really good. Obviously, we can age with just one tooth, because I would say probably 95% of the time, maybe even more, the first tooth is perfect, and we don't need to run a second one. Even if someone requests a second look, we typically don't need to run a second one.
Gotcha.
But it's really handy. It's really handy to have 2 of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's just really marrying up what you see in the field with what we're seeing microscopically. And I don't tend to change ages just based off what someone says, right? I have to see that there's some support behind that with the tooth.
Well, and even a lot of times, like, I mean, in the case of that piebald that you were talking about, if there's a piebald that obviously has like a white spot right here next to its left eye, that is obvious that that's the same deer. There's a lot of, like, how many times have we seen like a 8-pointer where we're like, I'm pretty sure that's the same deer from last year, but we don't know, like, for 100% fact that that is the same deer. A lot
Right.
of deer's racks
Yeah.
look similar, and so, you're like, well, I think that's this deer,
Right.
but
Yeah.
you don't know that for a fact, and so you could all of a sudden have another 3.5-year-old that you're looking at,
Yeah.
that now you think, oh, that's a 5.5-year-old, when really that deer got killed last year and you didn't even know it,
Right.
and so you're looking at a totally
Yeah.
different deer. So I'm sure
Yeah,
that
that's
happens to
actually
you
happened.
a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, so we had a guy request a second look, and he was like, I know this deer is 7 years old or whatever, and we aged it at 5. And we did the second look for him, and I was like, sorry, it's still 5. And they just kind of dropped it. Well, the following year, he actually reached out to me after we had aged teeth for him again, I guess, and he was like, hey, I just wanted to thank you, because we were so sure that that was the same deer. He used the same, walking pattern, the same look, the same everything. We were positive that was the same deer. And it turned out it was offspring. And the one you aged this year was actually the deer that we thought
He's
it
back
was.
from
And
the
he's like,
dead.
and
Now
we,
he's
we were
8.
positive. Yeah,
Yeah.
now he's 8. Yeah, exactly.
Needed
So
one more
yeah,
year.
it does happen.
Yeah. I mean, I could just see that happening all the time. Like, there's a few deer, like, I think you can see that deer maybe on my screen. That deer was obvious. We knew who he was for the 3 years that I knew that he was around. He had a unique looking rack, and it was obvious that's who that deer was. But there's other deer, like my other 10-pointer that you probably can't see. He's a clean 10. Like, you can look like a lot of deer at that point, right? I mean, hell, I killed a deer 6 days before that I thought was him with my bow.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm sure it happens all the time to hunters where
It does.
they think
It
they
does.
know, and we do a lot of stuff in the summer with cameras, and we nickname our deer, and we do a lot.
Yep.
Well, me and Andy nickname our deer.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. I
Everyone
do it all the
nicknames
time.
their deer.
Micah thinks it's stupid, so which Micah's our third one. So if you want to talk any shit to him, go ahead.
The problem
because
is
he's not here.
Micah doesn't track deer for longer than a year. So somebody has to find the deer for him so he can.
He'd have to know one long enough to be able to name it, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
But so anyway, yeah, I'm sure that happens all the time where, and that's where it'd be cool, like some of those deer where you're like, hey, I'm pretty sure this is what he is. Getting that information back going, no, this deer's 3.5. And you're just like, what? That would almost be a kick too. Like, let's say you kill a 150-inch, 10-pointer and you're like, I know he's 6. And you get it back from deerage.com and it's 3. How big that thing could have been in 3 years.
We're not always everybody's best friend when they get their age back.
Yeah, there's some people probably shouldn't send it in just for their own
vanity. Yeah.
Micah does.
I've had people scream at me and tell me I'm an idiot and that I'm wrong and that they know the age of the deer, and I think, well, then why the hell did you send it in? You're so damn confident.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm an expert or anything.
Yeah. I haven't done this thousands of times. But,
hundreds of thousands of times.
Micah does have one named that tripod deer.
He does. Yeah, that's an interesting deer.
Three-legged deer named Tripod. He's original.
Who is still alive. He's been, 4 years now that deer's had 3 legs?
I think so.
Well, the first year Micah knew him, so Micah has this deer that the first year Micah knew him, it was a big deer, like 170-inch class whitetail. And somebody shot its leg off during rifle season that year, and it lived. And ever since then, he's got his rack gets worse and worse every year, but he is walking around with 2 front legs and 1 hind leg, and still
that
alive.
deer's
4
going to
years
have
later.
some interesting cementum lines.
I hope Micah can catch up to it.
Yeah, that'd be cool to send in just to see.
Yeah, the
he
lines
rarely
will
sees
probably
that
be
deer.
pretty messed up.
I don't think he's ever seen him on the hoof.
I don't think
That's
he's
just
always
camera.
nighttime pictures.
Yeah, but okay, I got an interesting question for you then on your aging.
Okay.
And I'm sure you know. What is the oldest deer that you have been sent in?
24.
Question, Nate.
Thanks.
What?
How old?
24.
Was that a wild deer?
Yeah. It was a wild deer in a residential area that was protected from hunting.
Crazy.
I could see that.
So what, did it
Yeah,
die
but I get old deer. No, it didn't die of natural causes. It was a special hunting permit. Yeah.
Wait, special
not
hunting
natural.
permit?
Yeah.
I wouldn't need to do a necropsy on that one. We definitely know how it was killed. It was really old, and it was like from this protected hunting area. But wild deer, I've aged quite a few 20-ish-year-old deer that are wild. So it's not common, but it's not that abnormal. I would say out of every batch of 100, 2% are probably over 10 years old.
Yeah.
Okay.
But and I just kind of so I watched this. You might even know who I'm talking about. There was this photographer up in Canada. Forget his or her name. They photographed a wild buck every year of its life at the same time, and these beautiful high definition pictures.
Cool.
Every single year of its life, and the last photos were like 2 weeks before it died at 12 years old, and it showed the progression of its rack, to a whatever size it got, and then it declined until it died of natural causes at 12 years old.
Yeah.
And I'm like, damn it.
Yeah.
A wild deer at 12 years old. That's old.
Well, that's what I thought.
Yeah,
I figured she was going to say like 12, 13, 14.
Yeah.
That's 24 is like double what I was expecting.
Yeah, definitely. So, I think what kind of changed my perspective, and one of the reasons I really like this line of work is when I very first started doing this, obviously I was doing a lot of research because I'm not a hunter, right? I don't know anything about deer, or I didn't, I should say. And so I was doing a lot of research, and I was like, oh, okay, they mature between 5 and 6 years old, and then they start to decline. I was kind of just looking up the research. And then I would see deer come in that are 8, 9, 10 with huge racks that people thought were 5 years old. And I'm like, I don't think this is true. I don't think they naturally just decline after 5 years old, right? I think it really depends on the area. and they can keep getting bigger at 9, 10 years old. I saw a humongous deer that was 11 years old, and he was just massive, and they were certain he was 5, and he was old.
Yeah.
So it just really depends on where you're at to the hunting pressure and things like that. But
Makes
and
sense.
obviously what they have to eat. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't believe the previous research about when they mature. I think it definitely varies all across the country, and I think that they can mature quite a bit later than what was previously thought. And
Yeah.
I
I
think
mean,
as people continue to age their deer more, they'll start seeing that as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. I mean, if you think about like a human being and if you tried equating it to a deer, like, okay, yeah, some males, human males at 25 are going to be the biggest they're ever going to be, whether that's muscles or
Yeah,
whatever we're talking about. Some might be 29, some might be 33, some at
right.
45 still look like Shaq.
Yeah,
Like Shaq's still
yeah,
huge, and some
exactly.
people decline quicker, like I mean, I'm
Yeah.
43 and I feel like I'm 73. So,
I don't think
you know,
you're gonna grow
Well,
anymore.
and that's exactly why the
nope.
wear method doesn't work, right?
I've been at
So
130 my
you've got
whole
all
life.
these that's like the genetics play such a big impact, So depending on what they're eating and how good their genetics are, their teeth can wear down really fast. And
Yeah.
then people think they're old just because their teeth are worn down. Well, that doesn't mean anything, right? If the
All
deer
they're
was
eating is
chewing on rocks
acorns.
all its
Not
life,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, right.
exactly. I mean, it's going to make a difference in how fast the teeth wear down. So just like people, I mean, you've seen old people with good teeth and old people with really tiny worn down teeth. Like it really just depends. And so that method is just far too inaccurate versus the root, which is subsurface and it's very consistent. And it's been very consistent since the 1970s. It's just the best way to do it.
That's cool.
Did the deer find some meth in a ditch? By my farm, it's possible.
It's possible by your farm.
It's possible.
Do you want to write down? Do you want to ask your other question that you wrote down?
Sure.
I took credit for the first one.
That was good shit.
This is a good one. I like this question.
Okay, so are there any like through all the teeth you've aged, like do you see any trends of any certain states that tend to send in older deer than others? Like is there any parts of the United States that you see, oh man, a lot of old deer come
From this area or whatever.
or is it just all over the
No,
place, not
not
everywhere?
not really. I mean, I could probably, now that we have our new system put in place, I could probably analyze that data a little bit more and see who gets a little bit more older deer. I
Yeah.
wouldn't know off the top of my head,
Sure. So
mostly
there's no
because we're
like
just aging
standout.
so many of them,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So you're really just like counting and moving on. And so one of the things that I changed right when I bought the company is everything was paper based when I bought the
Sure.
company. You would fill out a paper, send it in, and then get your age by email, and that was that. Well, like there's a lot of valuable data to be
Mm-hmm.
had, right? And that people want to know. So I wanted to get a digital way of collecting all that data. And then just in 2021, we worked with a developer and got a central database. So now, as people are putting in their information and all their numbers, we can actually pool data like that and see, what states are getting the older deer and things like that, and also the sizes. So we actually have a leaderboard in our customer accounts where you can click on your state and year and just see the top ages listed out.
That's cool.
So yeah, we're trying to like use this data so that people, find it useful and not
Yeah.
just get one age back and then end it there, right?
Sure.
Yeah. Well, and I think like you'd almost. I think there would be a surprise. I think most people would assume that deer in the Midwest get older than deer like in the South,
Yeah.
or even like deer up in
Yeah.
Michigan because of all the pressure. But I
Yeah,
bet we
the
would be
old deer with the
surprised.
big rack, the old deer that I was telling you about that I
Mm-hmm.
saw that was 11 with the big rack, that was from Pennsylvania, which I felt I was
Like you wouldn't
surprised
think that.
by.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, and we talk about Lindsay. Lindsay is in Georgia, and he's killing 10 and a half, 11-year-old does. I mean,
Yeah.
so like I don't think people really know how old their herd is sometimes. Like
I honestly think that as people start aging more and more, and we really gather a lot more of this data that's useful, I think the things that we have previously speculated about deer will begin to change. I think it will
I can
start
see
to
that.
shift.
yeah, I think maybe it's possible that the herds are older than we think they are. There might be
I think
less
so.
young deer than I think it's just natural for us to say there's a lot of 0 to 3-year-olds, not as many 3 to 6-year-olds, and even less 7 to 10-year-olds. But hell, it might be there's more 3 to 6-year-olds than anything in your herd. It's just it's impossible to know unless you know how old they are, and unfortunately,
Yeah,
you
and
can't ask
until
them
you
for their
start
license.
aging them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's cool. I mean, we got to start next year. You, me, and Andy, we've got to like make a pact that every deer that hits the ground, we got to cut them teeth out.
I'll let
And
Andy.
Yeah,
think
it's super
about it.
easy.
Or what did I say?
You mean Andy?
You, me, and Micah. And then, because you think about it, we're sitting there gutting it in the field. We got a knife.
Pretty easy, just pop
All we
out.
got to do is and pop them out and let them dry. And
And
go
you
do
can
the
buy
order.
the kits in advance too. So you can buy the kits ahead of time and then enter the information for that deer later. It's called redeeming a kit. So you can
Gotcha.
buy a bunch to have on hand. That way you can pop it in the envelope right away and not lose the teeth.
Stocking stuffer.
That would be nice. I'd lose the teeth. I'd be like, I don't know where the damn teeth are. That's
Actually,
really cool.
so Chad, that's my husband. He developed a kill kit. So it's basically like a kind of like a first aid kit that flops open, and it has like everything you need to break down your deer. It's got tape and P-cord and gloves and bags and blades, and it's just got everything in there. And he actually designed it with a little tiny aerated pouch so that when you cut the teeth out, you can pop them in there and not lose them.
He got him in Tooth Fairy box.
Yeah. Well, I do the same thing. My little bag that you guys make fun of me on has got my rubber gloves and my. At one point in time, I used to keep a clothespin in there because of the smell.
See,
I'm a
I think
gagger.
every hunter
So I would be
has
sitting there
their
like,
their kit. Yeah.
Yep. But I stopped doing that. I haven't done that in so long. So, the clothespin is gone, but I still have my little kill kit where I've got my extra blades and
Yep.
rubber gloves.
I think every
sanitizer for
hunter
when I'm
kind of
done.
has one. And like Chad's just one of those organized people that he's like, inevitably, I forget one thing in my bag, and now I'm bloody and it's nasty, and I'm like digging in my bag. Now I got to wash my bag. So he developed the kill kit to make it easier for people who want to be more like him. So he's got gloves in there and bags and
Hey, all I'm saying is
P-cord
the
and
taxidermist
tarp.
uses gloves.
Yeah.
Andy's one of those dudes that he'll just like he goes raw dog. It just shoulder deep.
It even
and
has hand wipes. It even has hand wipes. So when you take your gloves off, you can hand wipe it off.
I have hand wipes.
He does have those. But yeah. Okay. So if somebody, obviously, deerage.com is your guys' website.
Yep.
So if somebody wants to, and we kind of talked about the different options at the beginning of the show, but if somebody wants to age a deer, what's the best way to get a hold of you guys, ask questions, get, Instagram, social media? How can they, find deerage.com, which is the website, and use you guys this next year?
Yeah, so basically, if anybody wants to pop onto the website, there's a lot of information on there. So we have a lot of FAQs and videos and things like that to help out. And then you can contact us actually through the website as well. That comes to our email. Instagram, you can obviously reach out, but Chad's the one that handles that, and he does have a regular job. So he's kind of like getting back to people in between his regular job. But yeah, so I would say through the website is the best way to get a hold of us. And it's a really easy process. When you go online, you just order whichever kit you like. Like I said, if you're impatient, and it's funny because there's a trend. People are like, I can wait. And then the next year they get like the next kit up, and then the next year, then every year they're getting the fastest one because they're like, oh, it turns out I can't wait. It's actually super fun. So
Turns out I wanna see.
we get more and more people converting to the platinum every year. But yeah, so you just pick your kit and then we mail it out to you, and it has instructions in there on how to take out the teeth if you haven't already. And there's an envelope to return the teeth in, and then you create a password when you check out. And so as we're scanning the tooth through the process, it'll be giving you notifications, that your teeth are here and that, the age is in there or whatever. So
I think we should make a yearly bet of who kills the oldest deer.
Well, since you won't measure deer with Micah, that might be a
age
good
it.
idea.
Yeah.
We can age them instead. That's not a bad idea. I like that one. We could be like
We
working
all
class
three
bow
get a
hunter.
kit.
Except we don't ever kill the giants, so we can just talk about the old ones that we kill.
We're going to go off age, not inches.
Like we can make a belt like Kurt wins. Kurt won it this year. Yeah. Make a belt and just be like, Nate killed the 4-year-old.
I mean, I'd have the belt all the time if we went off Iraq. So I mean, it's
I'd have the belt all the time.
But
that's actually hilarious. We've been thinking of like because we want to do an app so that it's a little bit easier to submit teeth versus our website sometimes isn't exactly as mobile friendly as it could be. So we're thinking of doing an app, and I was like, I really want to put a way for people to be able to bet on there. Because so many people are like, oh, is it done yet? Like I got to bet with my friend. Like it's kind of comical. So I was like, oh, I want to put some sort of like betting thing on the app.
That would be
good. I mean, betting is legal in a lot of states now. So
right. You'd have to make it like on the specific deer, because the problem is like you couldn't have a big contest because you'd have there's 20 5-year-olds.
Yeah.
No, it would be interpersonal betting. So like you could challenge your friends and things like that. So like you could, if you guys all had the app, you could be like, oh, I'm going to challenge you guys. Yeah, exactly.
And so that is with whitetails, mule deer, elk, coyotes. You just talked about
moose,
raccoons,
bear. Yeah.
Bear. Can you do turkeys? I'm assuming they don't have teeth.
No, no, turkeys don't have teeth, thankfully. But you can age birds with their bones, but I think you have to use their leg bone. To date, we haven't done it.
Yeah. So I mean, essentially everything that you hunt or harvest out there in the woods, they can age.
Yep.
So on carnivores, like you mentioned the coyote, so like on a bear, would it still be that same tooth, the one right behind the cow? Okay.
Yeah.
So
it just has the best lines. It's a little bit harder to extract. So I mean, technically we can age other teeth if we need to, but that's the best one for this process.
Okay.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, think about like all the coyotes when we do our tournaments. We're on the mouth doing our deal. We'd have to like make sure it's okay to cut a tooth out at that time, but like you're right there. You could literally just especially if it looked like an older coyote. But
and pro tip, leave them out of reach of your dog, because you would not believe how many people say my dog ate my teeth.
I believe that.
I believe it. Dogs eat anything.
And they're like, oh no, my dog ate my tooth. Can I send a different thing?
Smell,
yeah. Anything that stinks, they're gonna put in their mouth.
They're all about it.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. You got any more?
How many? Is my last question.
Perfect.
On an average year, like say in the last 3 years, what's your average teeth, like deer you're aging a year?
Like how many?
How many deer do you age?
Sheesh. Maybe like around 20,000 probably.
Holy cow.
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot of potential data points right there. You're right.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
That's cool.
That's awesome. I'm glad more people are, hearing about it, and more and more I talk to people that do it.
I mean, it's pretty affordable and it is fun. And also with our new system that we just are working on, it's going to be released in the next couple of weeks. You can actually upload trail camera photos, and we are introducing a hit list. So you can actually start kind of organizing deer that you're tracking. And then when you harvest them and turn them in, you can transfer them from your hit list to your trophy room. So then you'll have like your trophy photo and then all of your trail camera photos and all of your notes, and you can put in there, just different data points. Yeah. And so it's kind of like a little bit more of like a little bit of a tracking software too. And then obviously you get the age back, and you can just look at all your deer in your trophy room. So
nice. Well, that's awesome. Well, Heather Stevens, deerage.com. That was, I learned a lot in that one. That was one of the biggest ones I probably have learned in a while. So we appreciate.
But I learned stuff too.
Yeah, and you did too. Yeah, and you're going to do some research on that. So
I
am. You should let me know what you find out, because I'm curious. It's been 10 years since she's been gone, so I mean, I haven't really paid attention. Luckily, my next dog didn't get it. But anyway, Heather Stevens, thanks for coming on, and have a good day.
You too. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.